Hey,
Oh my God. This is like, it like
you
works
got
and
it.
then
You're in.
it,
You're good. You're good.
yeah, but it's so weird that it works and then it like freezes, things freeze up. Like I'll be
Well,
trying to do
let's yeah.
something
So
and
let's give
then
it a try and see where we get. But yeah, no, there's yeah, they're good to be gremlins.
I know, and I haven't had that before, but it's like super weird. And I'm like in the middle of something and then it just like freezes. Like, uh, I'm not sure this pink shirt goes with my background.
It looks fantastic. Love it.
Okay. All right. So now I'm in. I'm glad because that took forever. So I'm just gonna leave it on. Do you want me to run through? What do you want to work on?
Um, I'm fine. I think all I'm doing is monitoring the chat
Yep.
and any questions. And I'll introduce you again. You are the
Sounds good.
president of the Apiary Inspectors of America.
Yep.
And how long have you been with the agency?
I started in fall of 2019.
So you've been with the agency for 6 years.
Yep. Really, yeah, very close to 6 years full time. I was seasonal before that, but I don't think we need to get into the weeds.
Yeah, right. President of Apiary Inspectors of America. Uh, what else? Any other big sort of highlights? Those are good, but is there anything else?
Can't think of anything really.
Okay. No, that's
Happy to
good.
be here, that's all.
Happy to be there. Good. Okay, so I'll when we start it, I'll come on. Sorry, I just went for a run. I'm all totally sweaty.
Oh God, it's so hot out.
Well, I have a Nordic track in the basement for days
Oh,
like
cool.
this. So yeah, it's much better, but I'm still then I come upstairs and I'm like complete like it's just a sweat bomb. I'll be cooled off and dry by the time we start.
Yeah. No worries. I had
So
to just take a shower because I was like, I'm gross.
yeah. Oh, I know. I get like it's not the same gross as like I in the wintertime I can run. I know this is being recorded, but whatever. I can run and like be sweaty and stuff and dry off and feel fine. But in the summertime,
Yeah.
it gets like sort of it's really not good. So
Yeah,
anyway,
it does. And
often
even, I
showers.
mean, I haven't done anything. It just, there's a film that develops
Exactly.
that,
Exactly what it is.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so I'll introduce you and then I'll mute myself. And then do you want to do the same thing you had like you said you have some blank sheets that just say any questions on this section. So I can
Yeah, and
see
those are, yeah, those are kind of, I only have 37 slides and two of them are introductory, so 35 kind of real. But then there's some question on slide 30, question on slide 15. Yeah, so there's like a halfway through, and then yeah, and then that slide 30 is kind of wrapping it up on the mite stuff, and then the rest is just kind of like the bees in the news, kind of the national level stuff, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So
So how does this sound? I'll tell people again, it didn't really work, but we'll try it again. If try to hold your questions. We have a couple of pauses to if
yeah,
this works for you. We have a couple of pauses and you can ask questions then. Um, but I imagine last time I think I said that and we're not gonna let them in yet. Dave Stanley, do you know where he's from?
no, but there should be a waiting room or a green room.
Okay. Dave, can you hear us?
I think they're in the room.
Yeah.
Rooms.
Dave, can you hear Brooke and I? Well, anyway, I will let people know that there are going to be breaks, and if they can hold their questions, that's great. And if
Yeah,
not, then they can ask. But otherwise, hold their questions.
yeah, that sounds
Doesn't sound bad.
great. Yeah, that sounds perfect. And I really don't mind if people have a clarifying question. I think it worked great last time that
Okay,
I didn't feel like derailed at all. So,
great.
I'll try to just roll with it. Yeah. Um, yeah.
Okay, good enough. So it looks like, okay, so Dave, if you can hear us, it looks like we have to allow your mic and camera, which we can do in a little bit. We're gonna kind of go offline here for a few minutes and then we'll open it back up a few minutes before 6. Brooke, does that sound okay?
Yeah. So we'll close this down, right?
Or just, I think, no, I think we can just leave it
Or
open.
just mute myself and
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
Let's
I'll
mute
do
and then,
that just so I don't screw something up. And I made this invite, so I wonder, next time I'll ask Scott how there's like a toggle in there that to add to the green room, which I think is what I meant to do, but maybe I
okay,
toggled it the wrong way. So
okay,
that's okay.
no worries. All right, so, well, Dave, if you can hear us, we'll be back
We'll
in a
be
few
back.
minutes and we'll unmute your stuff so you can, you can talk to us. So, all
Cool. Well, I'll
right,
come
so
back at like 5 till or so.
that sounds perfect. All right, I'll see you in a
Okay,
little bit.
thanks, Patty.
Okay, yeah, bye. Hi, folks. We're going to, we got a few people here, but we're going to wait a few more minutes so we can get everybody on. So if you could sit tight, be with you shortly. Hi, everybody. It's Patty Casey. We're going to wait just a minute. I think we're missing a few people. Not sure exactly how many we're expecting, but we'll give folks another minute or two.
Yeah, there were like 30 people registered when I looked last week, so
Yeah. So
it's a lovely day though. So hopefully they'll trickle in, jump in from outside.
All right, we'll give it another minute. All right, well, it is a beautiful night, so it's possible some folks opted to spend their evening outdoors. So if Brooke is ready, we can get started. So thank you very much for joining us. My name is Patty Casey. I'm the Environmental Program Surveillance Director at the Agency of Agriculture, and I work a little bit with Brooke, mostly learning from her. So very happy to be helping out with this webinar this evening. So a tiny bit of housekeeping is that Brooke has very kindly left a couple of little pauses in the presentation for you to ask questions. If you need to ask a clarifying question while Brooke is talking, then you can use the raise your hand function up top, the little hand there, or you can go to the chat and type it in there if you'd like to do that. If you raise your hand, I will do my best to call on you in a way that is doesn't interrupt the flow of the presentation. And let's see. Secondly, can you guys hear me okay? I guess I probably should have asked that first, but if somebody could give me a thumbs up or some sort of indication that you can hear us, that would be great. I wonder if we need to allow your...
Oh yeah, there we go. We
Okay.
got some thumbs up.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So anyway, all right, we're gonna move right into this. So I just want to introduce Brooke first of all. Brooke has been the state pollinator help specialist with the Vermont Agency of Agriculture for the past 6 years and brings a lot of great experience with her own beekeeping over the years. And she's also the current president of the Apiary Inspectors of America, which is a very prestigious position for her. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. I will mute myself and I'll just be monitoring the chat and the whatever else hand raising question thing. And Brooke, I'll let you know if we have a question.
Sounds good. All right, I am going to click this present in Teams button and see how it goes. Present. All right, let's see how this goes. Cool. Looks like it's loaded. Hopefully, does that look good?
It looks great and we can hear you at all. I can see it and hear, and if anybody else cannot, they'll let us know.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks again, everyone, for coming on a Monday evening when the weather is just divine and not raining. And but it's an important topic, and so thank you so much for coming. Again, my name's Brooke Decker, pollinator health specialist. Patty Casey is my supervisor and just an all-around great person to work with. So we have a good team here at the agency, and we're really happy that you're here. So wanted to start by sharing why we're talking about this. This is a little snippet from our colony survey that we send out every year. Basically saying that Varroa mites are one of the highest stressors reported by beekeepers for colony losses over the winter. So that, you know, survey is very important for us. We get lots of information from you all from that survey. So we use it for, you know, guiding education on where we need to focus our efforts. It's really the overarching goal of this presentation is to increase colony health and overwintering success through effective mite management. That is a tongue twister. I should have practiced out loud before I wrote that. But we want basically when in the spring, we want you to not be sad. We want you to be really happy. So we want happy spring beekeepers with happy bees in the spring. So what is colony health? So to give it some context, a colony that's healthy has a queen, right, young and sufficiently mated queen. There is sufficient population of bees of all ages, so a full workforce in the colony. It's free from pests, parasites, and diseases, and there's abundant pollen and honey stores. And what we are focusing on today, obviously with Varroa, is that this colony is free from pests, parasites, and diseases, which is it's a heavy lift to have it free from those things, but we're gonna hopefully share some tips to make it at least as free as they can be from pests and parasites and diseases. So what I want to cover today is really highlighting the how and why of Varroa monitoring and management throughout the whole season. So not just in the fall, not just in September as like a quick, oh, are these bees going to be healthy going into winter? This is something that needs to happen throughout the beekeeping season. And especially right now, we're really getting ready for winter right now. And so I want to cover in this webinar management strategies using miticides, but keeping in mind the beekeeper safety along with the mitis that goes along with using the miticide, and really reviewing these labels that are part of the packaging of these miticides to make sure that they're being used correctly for the bees and treatment as well. So what is Varroa? Hopefully everyone here knows what it is, because if you're a beekeeper, you are a Varroa keeper, basically. As unfortunate as it is, these pests are persistent and they're in every colony around the world these days. So the scientific name is Varroa destructor. It was originally a pest of the Asian honeybee, Apis cerana. It jumped species. It spread around the world. It came here to the US in about 1987. I think it probably made its way up to Vermont by mid 90s. And it parasitizes the larva and the adult bees of the honeybee, and it vectors diseases. And so why do we need to manage it? It's the leading cause of colony mortality, not just in Vermont, around the world, really, around the country. All of the colonies of Apis mellifera are susceptible. They feed on the hemolymph and the fat bodies, which reduces the lifespan of the honeybee. It impairs the immune system function, and it reduces the productivity of the colony. I recently, in putting this webinar together, there is a significant amount of honey production that is lost if there's a high mite load. So it's not just an economic issue for the beekeeper, but the bees may not be putting up as much honey as well. And the mites vector diseases. So these deformed wing virus is a virus that you actually can see symptoms of, where the wings of the bee are crinkled, and a lot of the other viruses that are associated with a Varroa are not always visually apparent until the colony is really collapsing, like the acute paralysis virus. So how do we manage these Varroa infestations? We like to talk about this integrated pest management. It's a term used in all kinds of farming practices. We need to first know the pest, know its behavior and its life cycle, and we need to know what the infestation levels are in the hive, and we need to act when the thresholds are reached. Well, and we're going to go over that. We're going to repeat this a lot because this is the main core. This is the meat of the presentation, is really being proactive. So a Varroa management plan is proactive, thinking ahead, knowing that these levels of Varroa are going to reach high levels at some point. It's just a matter of when, and monitoring those throughout the season to know when that threshold is reached. So the key steps to this integrated pest management for honeybees, and anything really, but we're going to be talking about honeybees, is knowledge again. So we need to know about what this pest is that we're working with. And this could be applied to other honeybee pests as well, but we're focusing on Varroa right now. Prevention. So how do we take measures to prevent high infestations? Well, we're going to monitor this pest. We're going to intervene when it hits that threshold, and then we're going to evaluate the intervention, and then basically repeat until forever. It's a rinse and repeat until there's not a colony anymore there. So the life cycle of the Varroa, they reproduce in the brood cells of the honeybee. So a foundress will produce approximately one offspring per worker cell and two per drone cell. So therefore, she often prefers drone cells. And though we see them plenty in worker cells, but as we'll see later, pulling drone brood in a hive is one way to minimize infestation levels. So this is a really important part of knowing the life cycle of the Varroa mite, that its population peak is after the honeybee population peak. So we are, let's see, oh yeah, there we are, about right there. We are approaching peak population of honeybees right now. June or July generally is the time. Populations have been growing since the spring, and now is the really great time to keep these populations of mites at a minimal level. In our field inspections that we're doing, we do mite counts on nearly every inspection, and the numbers are right at the threshold. Some getting into the high danger zone, but it's really right at the threshold. So now is the time that we can really help get through a successful winter. So how do we monitor for this? I'm going to play this video, and it's way easier for me to find a video than to explain it myself. So enjoy this couple-minute video, and hopefully the sound works. All right. So hopefully y'all could hear that. So I hear this a lot, and I wanted to add this to the webinar. I don't want to kill the bees. So folks often prefer to either not monitor at all and wait till they may see some Varroa on the adult bees themselves. they're very small, as you could see in the video. And when they are at that phoretic state or riding on the bees' backs, like they do, and they would be visible, that means your infestation level is too high. So it's really recommended to do an alcohol wash and not use even the sugar shake. The alcohol wash is the most accurate standardized test for this across the board. So I often hear I don't want to kill the bees. And the justification to kill some bees is to basically sacrifice half a cup of bees for the greater good of the colony. And the math is that a queen lays an average of 1,500 eggs a day. So those bees that the nurse bees that you will be taking from the frame will be replaced. And a loss of about 1,000 to 1,500 bees per day is considered a normal loss of a colony, just bees flying out, getting eaten, and it's part of their just life cycle. And so if you monitor monthly throughout the season and then pre and post treatment, as we recommend, you're really only potentially killing the amount of eggs that a queen lays in one day. So it's really just, it's better to sacrifice a few hundred bees to know the infestation levels than to have the whole colony crash and really suffer in its last moments of life to not make it through the winter. So what are the recommended treatment thresholds? This is a chart from the Honeybee Health Coalition's website. You heard Robin there say that 6 mites is the level. A lot of scientists now are saying this 1%, so 3 to 5 mites is really the level, 3 to 4 is a level. So you'll hear a couple numbers, shifting in there. But I think what scientists are finding is basically if you have more than 3 mites, then you need to do something. So we are right now in this population increase to peak population. So an acceptable level is if you have 3 or fewer, 0 to 4 mites is what I wrote on the slide, per half a cup of bees or 300 bees. 5 or more is you're in a danger zone and some action needs to be taken. And that population, given the chart that we just looked at, that population of mites is also going to only increase if you don't take action at that number. So do we have any questions right now related to the Varroa sampling or infestation?
Not seeing anything, no hands raised and nothing in the chat. So if anybody wants to come off mic, you can, but, we have
I see a hand. Yep.
Yep, okay. Jeffrey. Jeffrey, can you take yourself off
I
mute?
wonder here, let me see, hit there. I think I hopefully I did it. Now allow, maybe you can unmute now, Jeffrey. Sorry, I might have set the.
Well, you can,
Oops.
Now I'm. You can put something in the chat. We do have a question in the chat, and that is, Kate asks, is there a reason to not just proactively treat?
There is a reason, because it's not a good practice, and that's how resistance to miticides can develop. And it's also good to know what level of infestation you're starting with so that you know that the miticide works, or whatever treatment, the management treatment works, so that you can monitor after and make sure that you know the levels of that your treatment worked. So you definitely want to know. It's true that given, you probably have some level of mites in there, but you really want to know what that level is so that you know kind of what you're up against. And Jeffrey's question, if you have multiple colonies and one colony is above the threshold, should you treat all the colonies? That is the recommendation from the Honeybee Health Coalition. So treat the whole apiary as if it were infested and, you know, the infestation level was high. So I would say the recommendation is if you have a yard of 32, you know, that's like the commercial yard, you should sample 8. So that's like 60%. So sample, if you have, you know, 2 colonies, sample both of them and just see, just so you, you know, get the practice down. If you have 10, do at least half. Just so you know kind of what's going on in different parts of your operation and you understand how different management practices might affect things differently. If there was a swarm, you know, that would be a brood break and it would break the cycle of the mite. But if you have a really high colony count on one, there's definitely a chance that they could contain, you know, the mite bombs happen. All right, I'm gonna see if, I don't know how I got out of.
We have one more question.
Okay, there we go.
From Julie, is there a number of mites where it's too late to treat or too infested?
I think it's worth always trying. I have seen, I mean, I don't know what the option would be to, I would say give them a chance. You know, if you're seeing numbers into like 15 to 20, it's a really high risk and it's probably not going to survive the winter. And I guess it is a call that you would have to make to, I would say it's still worth treating, because if that colony or when that colony crashes, those mites are just going to be susceptible. I mean, the bees in the surrounding area, even your neighbor's bees, would be susceptible to those mites in that colony, because as that colony is crashing, they're not going to be able to defend their hive. And all the neighboring bees within probably 3 miles will want to rob out any resources that is in that colony. So I think it would be worth treating or sealing it up. If it's way too infested and you just see it crashing, I would seal it away from other colonies. Hopefully that
All right,
helps.
that looks
All
like
right.
that's all the questions for now, looks like.
All right, so now we are going to move on to intervention. So this IPM pyramid for beekeepers slide is for all kinds of pests, but basically, as I described earlier, there are some cultural methods that we could do to try to prevent, you know, high infestation of mites. You can do brood breaks. You can try to get some resistant stocks. There are some queens available that have this hygienic queens that can help reduce the level of mites in a colony, but there is no mite-proof queen variety. So another method, moving up the pyramid, is some physical or mechanical intervention, which would be the drone trapping. So you can buy drone frames, stick it in the hive, but you want to make sure that you pull that out and destroy that comb either by freezing it or cutting scraping open the drone brood and scraping it off the frame before the mites hatch. Otherwise, as I said earlier, you are definitely just creating a huge infestation of the Varroa mite in the colony. You can do this also. Sometimes there's just like corners of a frame that they make a bunch of drone brood. You can certainly cut that out as well. It's going to be a great practice to keep that drone brood to a minimum. So some natural enemies, the biological controls really don't work. There's nothing really biological at this point right now for Varroa, but so this leads to the chemical interventions that we are going to talk about next. So again, just a little review of the non-chemical and cultural and physical controls. So some things that are more effective are the drone brood removal and the brood interruption and requeening, but the really very minimally effective, can be effective in some percentage, but not 100% reliable, is a screen bottom board. So the mites fall off the bees and fall through the screen and can't get back to the bee. You can pull comb, as I mentioned before. There's practice where you can roll powdered sugar on the bees and they groom off the powdered sugar and it knocks the mites off. These are all very minimal effectiveness. Doesn't hurt to try it, but you can't rely on that 100%. So back to this, we're going to talk about the chemical methods next, which are miticides. And so when miticides are used correctly, they're really the most effective Varroa control. But there's not really a magic bullet and no one technique that's going to work for everyone in all instances. And this is where some pre-planning is needed. And I will share, I have a lot of resources that I'm going to share, and I will follow up with a resource list so that you all can look it up later, because I don't want you jumping off and Googling stuff now. So be aware that I will share all these links later. So what we're going to review here is some beekeeper safety when they're using miticides, some basic language on a pesticide label that can give you an idea of its toxicity level to the applicator, not to the bees, hopefully, or I mean, not to the thing that you're putting it on. This is for the person applying it. Hopefully it's, toxic, hopefully to the pest that you're trying to prevent. But there are signal words that you need to be aware of. Caution means the pesticide is slightly toxic if eaten, absorbed through the skin, or inhaled. Warning indicates that it's moderately toxic. And danger means the pesticide product is highly toxic by at least one route of exposure, and it may be corrosive. And if the word poison is added, then it can be absorbed through the skin or dangerous if inhaled. So really important to read these labels to understand the products that you're using. There's some other sections of just a regular pesticide label that provides handler PPE, personal protective equipment, that is needed when you're applying a product. There's user safety recommendations. There's directions for use, how to use it, when to use it, where it's used. And these directions outline how to apply it, what pest it controls, and these directions are legally binding. And the products, if you use a product in any way inconsistent with the label, it's a violation according to the EPA. So the language we use is the label is the law. So you want to read the label, make sure you're using it correctly. And hopefully everyone who has been registered with us before has received their registration and renewal form. We tried to include this in the renewal form. I realized that it was a black and white copy, but we have color copies that are available, and then you could print it and download it online. But this is a really useful tool. This is the one side of this Northeastern IPM it's basically a really helpful guide summarizing all the different Varroa sides that are available to use in a one-stop shop. So how do you decide which miticide to use? You can use this tool, and we're going to review this a little bit later as well. Or the Honeybee Health Coalition has a decision-making tool. They have a guide, and the tool is really useful for folks who are interested in maybe organic versus synthetic miticides. And it's a choose, like, what time of year is it? Are the bees dormant? You can go through and really just choose what miticides are available and registered for use based on your needs. So we're going to go into some quick, not too deep into the labels, just for the sake of time, but we're going to review a couple of the labels, also from the survey that we took. This is from this year's survey also. So not finished yet, but this is from, I think there were like 200 responses so far. What mite treatments were applied during the 2024 season? So a lot of people use Formic Pro, and a lot of people use the AP Bioxyl, which is oxalic acid. So what I wanted to do here is do a quick label review and share some of those content boxes that are going to be helpful in your safety and the use of the miticide. So the Formic Pro, as you can see, it has that danger, poison. It's corrosive to the skin and eyes. So you want to make sure that, and I realize there are tons of words on this, and I wanted to have a visual that shared what it says on the label and how it's presented, so you'll be able to look at it yourself and know where to read. So what we'll do is not go into it too much, and we'll go into the that IPM, the summary chart, and talk about these two things. It has summarized this with images, which is really handy. But basically, you need to read the safety recommendations. It tells you that you need to use it only outdoors, stand upwind of the product, and use caution when opening the container, especially in warm weather. Anyone who has opened it can attest to the fumes that come from this. You want to make sure that you are wearing coveralls, a long sleeve shirt, long pants, socks, and shoes. Great thing about beekeeping is you're usually pretty covered when you're doing this anyway, but you want to make sure that you have acid resistant gloves and protective eyewear when you are using this. Another thing I have seen in apiaries, when folks use the Formic Pro, they will store their Formic Pro in the apiary. This product, the way that it works, it's a fumigant, and so leaving it in the sun in the heat for any amount of time is gonna reduce its efficacy. So I have, on a number of occasions, come into a bee yard, let's do a mite sample. The mite count is so high, they had just put the formic acid on, 20 days before the treatment should have worked, but turns out they store their Formic Pro in a shed that's in the yard that gets extremely hot. So you want to make sure that you store it in a cool, dry place that's away from children and away from any food or water or feed. So important label to read to make sure that your money is well spent and not deteriorating your product by storage. The next label is the oxalic acid. A lot of folks use this in various different ways. It also has a danger poison. This acid is more acidic than battery acid, so it is very dangerous to get on your skin. You want to make sure that you wear long sleeve shirt and long pants, socks and shoes, chemical resistant gloves that are at least 14 milliliters, so very thick, protective eyewear. And even if you are using a solution method or dribble method, you need to be wearing a NIOSH approved particulate face piece respirator with any NR or P filter on there. And then especially if you were using the vaporizer method, you want to absolutely make sure that you are wearing a respirator and make sure it works correctly and it fits correctly. So back to this chart here, this shows it's a very complicated, yet once you learn it and study it, it's a great chart on what products are best to use when, if you can use honey supers on, how long you leave the treatment on, and how you're using it, and then what PPE you need to use. And it is recommended on here, and I would agree with it, that a respirator is recommended to be used for the Formic Pro. It's not required according to the label, but it is recommended. A little bit more about the proper respirator fit. There's a guide for worker protection if you want to learn more about how a respirator is fit. There are fit test kits available if you're doing this a lot. If you have many colonies and you're doing this and you want to make sure that you are not injuring yourself, there's qualitative fit kits available, and then there's quantitative. And one known place that in Vermont is the Champlain Medical Occupational Health Center. I think a lot of medical centers do it. That's just one that our pesticide field agents know offers this service. And then just to add another element to appropriate miticide and pesticide use, you may need an applicator license if you make miticide or pesticide recommendations to other beekeepers. If you find that you are doing educational talks like mine and talking about a pesticide and recommending how the miticide is used, you may need an applicator's license. I have one. And if you are applying miticides to colonies other than your own as a business. I don't know of this happening, but if you are doing either of those two things and want to get licensed so that you are in compliance with the state law and federal law, then you can reach out to agrpest@vermont.gov. So after we do all these treatments, we've decided what miticides we're going to use. We want to evaluate. We want to monitor again and make sure that the miticide worked. There are certain circumstances where formic acid, it just doesn't do as great as it should. There are times its efficacy is really high, and other times if the temperature is too high, you'll have queen death. So you want to really make sure that you follow the label and according to how the hive is set up. And if you have a screen bottom board, it might not be as effective. So you want to make sure you monitor and then monitor again a month later. So we really recommend monitoring at least monthly, pre and post treatment, and then you keep repeating all of those IPM methods that we discussed. So any questions on miticides?
Not seeing anything in the chat and no raised hands, but wait a second here. Okay, I guess maybe if somebody has a question, they can put it in the chat and we'll address it at the end.
Sounds good. We only have a few more slides and then we can open it up to discussion if we need to. So there's been a lot of talk. This is where I'm wearing my Apiary Inspectors of America hat, where I'm more involved on a national level, and I wanted to share some, info that is important and relevant into Vermont as well. So we heard a lot about colony losses this past winter. It was like all over the news, right? So many colonies, 60% of the commercial apiaries losing colonies. It's not always common for commercial beekeepers to be losing that many colonies, especially right before almond pollination. So it was a very stressful time for a lot of beekeepers. And what they found is the USDA researchers found that the likely cause of a lot of these huge colony die-offs were from viruses caused from a miticide resistance. So basically a miticide that is often used in commercial apiaries, which is Apivar, and it's with the active ingredient as amitraz, that this product isn't working any more as well as it used to. And what this chart is showing here is that over time, the resistance to amitraz, there's an increasing resistance to this miticide product. And so that's why we also recommend rotating products to make sure that there isn't a resistance developing for one product. So linked to these colony collapse was deformed virus A, deformed ring virus B, and acute B paralysis. And the Vermont numbers and some studies that we worked with North Dakota last year on sending some samples basically from a mite wash that we would do. We would send them to the lab in North Dakota and they would analyze them for a host of pathogens. And we found that we had of 91 samples sent to the lab. And so these are not just sick and dying colonies. These are just healthy, regular during inspection colonies. We had 23 detections of deformed wing virus A, so that's a 25% prevalence. Deformed wing virus B, 68 detections or 75% prevalence. And then acute B paralysis virus, 11% prevalence. So what this shows that it, as I said earlier, you don't always see the virus presenting itself in colonies, but the viruses are there and they can then suffer through the fall. So what are we doing at the Agency of Agriculture? We are saving the mites from mite washes that we do in the field, and we will be sending those to the USDA lab in Baton Rouge to test for resistance. The EPA has released 3 new miticide products coming out soon. They're in the pipeline. They're not available yet, one of which is an RNA-based miticide, so very unique, different active ingredient. There's a new extended release oxalic acid. I know a lot of folks were bummed when the EPA shut us down and would not allow us to do our homemade oxalic acid anymore. But now that we've read that label and realized that the danger on that logo or on the label, that there's high risk for beekeepers making miticide products in their home. So there are now 2 extended release oxalic acid options coming. Well, there's one available now, the Varroa, and then this new one is in the pipeline. And then there is a new L-glutamic acid, which I don't know what it is exactly, but from what I understand, it's the chemical that's the precursor to oxalic acid, so less acidic and safer for a beekeeper to use, but potentially still as effective for Varroa mites. And if you want to find out any more info about the national colony, the losses, and the USDA research, Project APIS-M has a colony loss FAQ sheet. So as a recap, before we open it up for everyone, winter preparation starts now. So we want you to sample for Varroa monthly, pre and post treatment. Always read and follow the label and rotate your miticides. And then we'll open it up as an engaging question to get you thinking or sharing what's one takeaway from this webinar.
We do have one question
Okay.
in the chat from Kate for Apivar strips and the recommendation to keep them on for 6 to 8 weeks. Wondering how people are managing timing with winter in terms of placing and removing.
Yes, that one is an interesting one because you don't want to leave that's how a resistance can build up with the Apivar strips. And I'm going to pull this slide up here. and try to Apivar. So it looks like it is best in the spring and the fall and not in the winter. So removing that before winter would be the best practice, because leaving those strips with a low dose of the product on there is what can help develop the resistance for the Varroa. A small, one Varroa can doesn't die from the small amount that's on the strip and then produces offspring. I'm not a geneticist, but that's basically how it happens, is the low levels of the product lingering in the hive can create that resistance, I believe.
So I'm not sure if folks can come off mic or not.
I might have, like, I can allow Mike here. I'm
Let's do
like
that.
hitting, maybe we can allow everyone. I might have set the settings like too strong.
Shut people down. Well, while you're messing with that, I will say, let's see. So Jeffrey has a comment. My takeaway of Varroa management is pretty much a year-round requirement now. Wow, things have changed a lot since I got my first colony in 1982. Oh my gosh. Okay, you get a prize for having colonies for a really long time. So year-round management, that's yep, that's it. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like something that you may have a comment on, Brooke.
Yeah, I would say that is the case. And so now I know a lot of beekeepers rely on oxalic acid products in the winter times. So yeah, it's they're just getting more persistent, and yeah, I mean, there's like a little, because our winters are so long, but around Thanksgiving time is a good time for an oxalic treatment. And other folks that keep a lot more bees than I do probably could speak better to this, but and then I think around, February they're doing it again. So basically, really, there's just, and we're really broodless by December and January. So the mites aren't able to reproduce then, but they certainly can overwinter in a cluster. They're just not reproducing. So there are times, and I know Ontario, which is not that far away from us, did a study a few years ago. They had a lot of colony losses, and it turns out they had a mild winter, and a lot of mites were overwintering in the colonies, and so their mite populations basically spiked earlier than they realized the year before, and so that following winter, it was just crash time.
Okay, let's see. Do we have any more questions in the chat? Oh, Kate,
Yes.
thank you so much. Oh my goodness, someone's talking.
Oh, that might have been me.
Oh, was that you? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I think
Apologies if you're not able to speak. I'm not sure. We did have some technical difficulties again today. Apologies for that. But we'll see if we can get that fixed for the future. But Kate says, thanks so much. This was very useful. I'm very excited to learn more about Vatiscana once it's available. Sure, I'm saying that.
That's the RNA. Yes, I am as well. I'm very excited. So that is from Greenlight Biosciences, and it's a very new product that is showing promising results. So I'm excited to see it in action. I think we definitely need more tools in the toolbox.
I have a question.
Yay, a voice.
Sorry, I don't have my video on because you wouldn't want to
I
see
know,
me
that's my
making
fault.
dinner right now. So I'm a second year beekeeper, but I'm still, there's like, I don't know anything still. And we are actually tonight going to be, when it gets a little cooler, treating we've got 2 hives, and one of our hives is heavily infested. So we're going to treat the other one proactively without even testing it. on recommendation of our mentor. But my question is, the one that we haven't treated, when we got it a month ago, it was brand new. It had tons of brood, and they have since hatched. And there were 3 queen cells. And last week when we checked, they were both uncapped now. So we were thinking they're on their maiden voyage. Excuse me, that was 2 weeks ago. Last week when we checked, we still didn't have any brood, no queen. So we were thinking about getting one, but now that we're going to be treating for Varroa mites, I assume that we don't get a queen if none arrive until after we're done treating. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I would wait. So you probably do have a queen if they were hatched out. I would wait another week or two just to be sure. And is that the one that has high mite levels?
We haven't tested that one.
Okay, so that one will have, it could have a brood break. What can happen sometimes is when they go broodless, all the mites are phoretic, so they're all on all the nurse bees, and so it gives you a high count. It can throw it off a little bit.
Sure.
So yes, I would wait and see on that one to make sure that you have. I am guessing, I'm going to say fingers crossed, I'm the eternal optimist here, but that you probably do have a queen. And so generally you have to wait, from that queen cell time, it's about a month. So I would
Oh, okay.
say wait a couple more weeks. They have to kind of get oriented and then do their flight. And then it takes them a little while to start laying eggs again. But check
Okay.
it again in a week or so. And then I would ask what product you plan on using for
Formic
your,
Pro.
so you want to make sure that the temperatures, I haven't checked the weather, but I have the label here. I can share. Can I
I believe
share?
it
Am I
says
still?
85 and under, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so I was gonna
So we're going to
share.
wait for
Yeah,
another hour or so, and then the
so that
rest of
is for
the
the
next.
first 3 days.
Yep.
So, and I haven't checked the weather, but it's been kind of hot lately. So
Right.
just be aware of that. And so what I recommend sometimes is just using the one strip and then, and it's here, I can share my screen here. This is the label.
Hmm.
Is it sharing?
We got
So,
some advice from Better Bee on
oh,
this.
good. Oh, they're
There you
great
go. Yeah,
too.
you're sharing
Yes.
the
Yeah.
label that's going through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes if it's right on the cusp, and maybe this is what better be said too, I don't know, is do the one strip and then put in the second strip on at day 20. But I would say Better Bee has way more experience giving advice to beekeepers than I do.
Yeah, so we the one that was heavily infested had 30 mites per half cup of bees,
Oh wow.
which last year we had maybe 4 or 5 at the highest. So that's why that was my question. Is it, where's the point of no return? And should we just count it as a loss? But they said, no, try it. And you just
Yeah, I
also
would say
said,
try
no,
it.
try it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going
Don't give
to.
up.
And
Yeah.
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 And so you might have said it, but I don't think I caught it. How soon after the treatment is done do we test again?
You could do it as you're pulling the strips out. So if you're
Okay.
doing the 20-day treatment, you could test that day or after day 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. No, thank you. I really
Yeah.
appreciate this whole webinar. It's been very helpful.
Good. Thank you.
All right, let's see. Any last, but we do a very nice comment here for you, Brooke. Thank you. You've done Ohio proud.
That is my fellow Ohioan. I am from Ohio, everyone. If you can't tell this Midwestern glow.
Well, let's see. Does any final questions or comments? You can either take yourself off mute or write something in the chat or raise your hand. And we don't you come up, take myself off. Self on the camera. Oh,
Yeah, Kate, you can go ahead. You can allow your camera even. I'm going to say my takeaway is learn how to do webinars better where people can actually ask questions. So hopefully, Kate, you can ask a question.
Kate's hand is up. Kate, can you take yourself off mute or no? Guess you would if you took yourself off. Now, is that going to actually work? Apparently not. Apologies.
Darn
We're
it.
still learning. Well, it's one person could, so we're not sure what that's about. But we're getting some thank yous coming in. And I guess if you wanted to say something and couldn't come off mute, if you can email Brooke at Brooke with an E .decker@vermont.gov.
Yes,
to follow up if
absolutely.
you have any questions. And I guess Julia's typing. So give it
I'm
just
so bummed that I messed this. It's hard to ask a question and then like have it like that no one can answer. So it's such a bummer, but
so when
I
we do,
do-
let's see, this is a question. Is this going to be available later to watch? It is recorded, so we can make that available for you to watch. And we do have another question here. Let's see. Okay, there you are. I had a big batch of drone brood I was able to take a look through, and I'm also a brand new beekeeper. Are we just supposed to look for red dots / mites, or was there anything more specific when inspecting the drone brood? I didn't see any, thankfully. So what's that?
Yes.
What you got for that?
Yes, so that is what you're looking for is mites. And if you do the uncapping, it's you'll more likely see them when the mites will be more mature and able like visible when the drone brood is it's called at the purple eye stage. So it's a larval stage. So under cappings and they're almost fully developed. And then you can pull those out. So the drones aren't hatching and allowing the mites to come out, but it's at a later stage of brood. But pulling it out, even before that, when the larva is kind of squishy and gooey, that will kill the Varroa as well because their life cycle is disrupted.
So
I don't think you need
Kate's
a
wondering if
microscope.
okay, you can see that now. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
sorry, I just pulled it up.
Good.
Yeah, I don't think you need a microscope. Maybe a hand lens is helpful for folks. You know, it depends on your, see, it's hard to see, definitely sometimes. They are very small. You can bring a hand lens out. Changing the lighting can help some. If you bring it inside, they're not microscopic, but they are very small, like the period at the end of a sentence kind of small. So you can see them, but yeah, it kind of depends on everyone's got different vision too and different, yeah.
Right.
And yeah, what was I gonna say about, oh, if you want to schedule an inspection too, to help, do a mite count for the first time or point out mites, we can certainly do that as well.
All right. Great. Thank you, Brooke. And
All right.
people jumped off, so thanks to all of you who were here, and we will be planning, Brooke will be planning the next one. We're not sure when or what exactly, but we will let you know.
Keep it going. We'll keep the show on the road.
Thanks for being here, everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, you're still there, right?